Hi, welcome to Chapter 1 from the Kaplan-Schweitzer book, Personal Financial Planning Theory and Practice, the 8th edition. We're going to talk about just some background information, kind of set up what the field of personal financial planning is all about. Well, financial planning at its core here is the process of formulating, implementing, and monitoring multifunctional decisions. According to this slide, really what we're trying to do here is develop an overall approach to understanding what the financial risks are and make some choices based on cost-benefit analysis. And that is in most situations. We're going to try to capitalize on the strengths, so we're going to focus on and try to magnify the strengths of a particular person's individual financial situation while managing or trying to control as much as possible the financial risks and weaknesses that might be present in a person's personal financial situation. The benefits to personal financial planning are quite a long list, as you can see. We're going to integrate a mission or goal. We're going to talk about the steps to do this a little bit later on, but we've got to have a goal. We've got to identify what plans that we're making and what steps we can take to make them more likely to succeed. Identify our risk exposures. This is a big one. Most people understand that there's risks involved in their personal financial situation, but may not be aware of all of them, nor how to avoid or remedy some of these risks. This process is going to allow for better choices. So sometimes an individual may not be aware of the choices that are available, nor the need to be making choices. Many times people are experts in their particular field, but they really have no concept of how to approach the situation of their personal finances. This whole financial planning process is going to create a framework here where we can control and evaluate what's going on an ongoing basis. We're going to establish measurable goals and expectations here so we can have some sense of if we're succeeding or failing. We're going to have better awareness of financial choices and how our internal situation, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and the external environment in particular affects those choices. So we need to be aware of the world around us and what things might affect or cause us to succeed or fail in our particular financial plan. And here's a big one. The client or the person with the plan allows them to take ownership and actually have some stake in the game and actually have some vested interest and some understanding of the scope of the situation and buy into the whole process so that they can further their financial future. Well, a comprehensive financial plan here's a big one, and this is a struggle for many financial planners. We help to establish rationality and reality and eliminate unrealistic ideas and wishful thinking. I can't even tell you how many times a financial planning client of mine has actually no idea what kind of financial situation they're in. They might have dreams and goals for their future, but they might have completely unrealistic expectations. Maybe they're planning to travel or want to vacation a lot when they retire, but they haven't taken any of the steps at all to put themselves in a financial position to actually achieve those things. So unfortunately, sometimes the message has to be, I'm sorry, but what you're planning to do is not financially feasible. But a good planner will provide alternatives. We'll say, well, if you do these things instead, or maybe we can do this, which is kind of like what you wanted to do, or maybe if you alter your course or alter your savings at this point, we can actually achieve some of these goals, even if it's not practical to expect to achieve all of them. So we're going to help clients identify what changes that they have to make in order to accomplish their goals and provide a forum. So this is an interactive situation where the planner doesn't just dictate what the client might do, but it's an interactive relationship between the client and the planner to try to do what is possible to achieve the client's goals. Now, achieving those goals, this concept of success is relative. Financial success for a particular person is relative. one person might believe that they are not financially successful unless they can travel the world, spend time with their grandchildren, and live in a 5,000 square foot house. Another person would be perfectly happy just to maintain their modest lifestyle that they've had while they're working. They just don't want to have to go to work anymore. Or they have achieved success if they can send their children to the college that they dreamed that they could go to ever since they were born. Things like that. And those are going to vary wildly from client to client. Now, these clients, because their individual situation and their family situation kind of dominates their thinking, they are subjective in their outlook on their situation. So their emotions, only their individual background and experiences play a part in their decision-making process. The planner needs to step outside that and really provide an objective point of view that will maybe bring back to reality some of the dreams and hopes and emotional baggage that might come along with a particular client's thinking. Financial planning is very much about resource allocation. Essentially, this sums it up: allocation of scarce resources. Now, certainly, there are people that have so many financial resources that they can pretty much do whatever they want. Those actually, you might imagine very wealthy people are the ones that really need financial planning, but I believe it's actually the reverse. When a person has limited resources, it becomes even more important to have a robust plan so that you can properly allocate the scarcity. If you have plenty to go around, it's not going to matter where you live, what kind of house you buy, if you have unlimited resources. So most people fall into this category. They don't have unlimited resources. It all comes back to making these choices are going to depend on a person's utility curves, which is a economic term. It really comes down to what are those things that a client finds most important to achieve and those that are less important. So when you have to prioritize, you can choose the proper path. And when they choose one option and forego another option, there's an opportunity cost. So we spend a lot of time looking at what are the costs for making a certain choice, and in economics we call that the opportunity cost. A financial planner, really, if they are a comprehensive financial planner, will have, I don't know if I'd call it expertise, but knowledge in all of these different areas. This course is not going to cover every single one of these areas, but we are going to spend a fair amount of time on retirement topics and insurance topics, both private insurance and what we call social insurance programs like the Social Security system. Planning for education comes up a fair amount here, which all of these decisions are going to take some manipulation in the world of time value of money. We'll talk about internal analysis and external analysis, and some establishing financial direction. So we're going to touch on many of the things in this pyramid. Taxes are hard to escape. Those are going to play a part in practically every financial decision. We're not going to spend a great deal of time on taxes, but it will come up here and there. But a valuable financial planner, for them to bring benefit to the clients that they work with, are going to have knowledge in all of these areas of the financial pyramid. Now, we're going to take this knowledge and actually step through what has been developed as kind of an organized process for personal financial planning. It are these steps, and these steps are generally agreed upon to be the order in which a financial plan should be put together and implemented. So the first thing that has to happen, there has to be a relationship established with the client. So you're going to have to, if you're a planner, obtain a client, which is going to involve getting to know them, getting to know what their needs are, what their goals are, what their resources are, and then through that interaction or that communication, you'll find out if you actually can help them. Very few planners have all the tools to help every single person. That's a nice dream to have, but most planners find that they need to specialize in one area or another, and hopefully you'll try to attract clients that actually fit into that particular focus. Once you've established that relationship and decided to move forward, you have to gather information from the client. So this is going to be information on their financial resources, income, assets, expenses, things like that. Once you have all that information, you're going to analyze the data and design a plan based on what information you've gained from these above steps. Once the plan is put in place, we're going to deliver the plan, but it's not an edict. It's not a commandment that the planner says you, client, need to do this. We need to obtain feedback. We're going to sit there and give the plan as we believe that it might be appropriate for this client. But the client itself, they might come back and say, well, no, we can't possibly do this. Maybe in the plan we suggested they save 10% or 15% of their income from here forward rather than the 8% that they have been. And the client might have some reason they come up with where they just absolutely cannot do that, or they choose not to do that. Remember, the plan is the client's plan, not the planner's plan. And the client's going to have to buy into it. So this is a give and take at this point, trying to find out if the plan that's been developed will actually fit the client's needs. Once everybody's on board with it, then we implement the plan itself, and that's going to involve maybe things that the planner does for the client or the client does on their own. There's many things that really you rely on the client to actually perform themselves. Usually best to have some kind of checklist or outline so that everybody's on board with what has to happen when and who's going to do what. And then once implementation is done, which might take some time, we're going to monitor and adjust the plan as events unfold. This isn't a one-time, you put the plan in place and then everything is fine for the next 20 years. Events change. The plan will have certain assumptions about the future that may or may not come true. And you might need to monitor the situation, and the financial situation of the client might change. They might lose a job. They might get a better job with higher pay. They might have another child that was unexpected. They might develop health issues that were not a situation before. Those things need to be monitored, and the plan has to evolve as events unfold. Now, the quick way to remember these is the acronym EGADIM, E-G-A-D-I-M, which is the first letter of each of these topics here, E-G-A-D-I-M. And that is the typical process that a financial planner, whether they're planning for a client or someone's doing it on their own, this is an appropriate way. You can probably skip the established relationship with a client if you're doing it on your own, but most professional financial planners follow essentially this exact 6-step process with slight modification here or there. So that's essentially the summary of Chapter 1. I do expect you to have read the material. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.